Hey everyone, Genome here, coming at you with another video for the Marvel Strike Force Beginner Series. In today's video, I want to go over War. We have some, and this is my other alliance of course, but on my Lobby alliance that I'm in, we got some people who have never done a war before, so in lieu of typing out answers in Discord all the time, I figured I'd just make a quick video going over a couple of the more basic things about it. I am by no means a war expert, but I've done okay in a few times. Let's see. Yeah, so I've been War BT about 30 times, but that doesn't really mean a ton. I'm not like a huge high-end master, nothing like that, so don't get to thinking that. But anyway, I got some good advice here, I think, for the newbies. The first thing, before I even go into the actual War tab, is over here in the Blitz store. You might be wondering what these are for if you're new. These tokens are used for war. One of them is for if you botch an attack or just need to get some last minute attacks in. These are generally pretty expensive. And the defensive boost, that's for basically boosting rooms on your own side of things to help things out. Just gets everyone around to deflect. It's nice to have. Most of this is pretty optional, but really if you want to progress in war, you're going to need to use these from time to time and try to at least use your defensive boost once every war at the very least. So especially as you're climbing the ranks, if things are looking close. Now if it's like a blowout, don't waste your tokens and all that, but it's good practice. Most of the time you use this war energy, you feel like, so when you botch an attack, you got to jump back out of it because it went south on you or whatever. You overestimated your abilities. So that's what that usually is. But like I said, these are pretty easy to fill up on now because you got Auto Blitz. Auto Sim Blitz makes that a snap compared to what it used to be. So let's go ahead and go into War and talk about some of the ins and outs of it. Alright, so War is a timed event, of course. Timer's up here. You got a little rule set if you really want to look at it right here in the info tab. A lot of good information in there. But let's just make it a little more succinct, shall we? First of all, if you start hearing about participation, like they can tell who's doing what, all you gotta do is scroll down to the bottom and see who has any attacks and who hasn't. I have not attacked yet. The war just started recently. I'm gonna maybe do an attack right now. So that's what they're talking about. So it can be tracked, so you can't sit there and just do one attack and expect to keep getting by with that. You'll get called out eventually. So you can track a lot of your stats here. And you can purchase stuff from the store here, but don't worry about all that. Don't worry about the leaderboard. Nothing like that you need to fool with. Okay, up here is the current score. We are currently behind, but once again, not a big deal. So, okay, when you first go in, you're going to see lots of different rooms, okay? This first row of rooms is usually, well, not usually, it's always basically one of your first 3 stops, and none of them have any kind of bonus attached to them. You start getting in the rows below that, you start having bonuses to each room. So basically, while this room is still active, you're going to have these bonuses given to rooms that are around them, and vice versa. So it's really important to strategize on which rooms you want to take out. Like, this is a really big buff for teams there and around it. So yeah, it's not fun. But you got to work your way down, and the rooms change. It depends wherever the war leader puts the stuff, the rooms, and how they're defended. That's way beyond the scope of this. But basically, top row is usually best. Usually it's like one side of the top row is what gets focused on, and then you work your way down as these open up, because these are very low value rooms. Let's see what else. If you see these little red highlights markers here, basically reticules, that means your war leader has chosen those for the alliance to focus on. So if you see these lit and you have a team that lines up with something in here, like say, let's see what we got here. Bullet time. Let's say say you have like a 200k Brotherhood team that could destroy this team, right? This would be the preferable room. Don't use that 200k team on, like, say a 45k. It doesn't matter really the size. Somewhere in flight deck where it's not going to be that useful to you. They want you to focus down the rooms, okay, or at least one sides of them. If you look up here too, these little targets will be highlighted depending on which side they want you to work on. So it seems complicated first, but it's really not. It's pretty easy to track, and usually there'll be something in chat to let you know, or in Discord, okay? Okay, so that's kind of rooms. I'm not going to get into buffs and what they can do for everybody. That's way beyond the scope of this. Remember how I talked about boost before? Well, there's a little boost tab up here. This takes you to your defense, okay? And you can see here rooms that have defense on them. And basically, you can pick any team you want to boost, right? Typically, you want to save it for the strongest teams closer to the end, right? So look for something that's really strong. I'll go ahead and boost something for fun. Oh, wow, that's a heavy merc team. So there's some really good stuff here. So be selective with who you do it. I'm going to boost these mercs because they're just be a murder squad. And that's going to eat 75. And that goes to 150 next time, so it's exponential. It gets really expensive to boost, so be specific with what you want. That's it. That's where you can see the defense. That's where you can see where your room is. So there's that. And then we're back to the attacking screen. Okay, so something else you need to figure out is, let's go to, just say here. And maybe I can do a fight. Let's see what I want. Okay, the key to war, really, in all things, is to use the bare minimum team. And a lot of times you gotta take a chance on punching up. So let's see if I can punch up with a squad. Fantastic Four. Okay, that's a 30k punch up, and it's going into a lot of stuff. So that's a little bit iffy. But it's just a Kree team, so I'm going to try it. Okay, but be very mindful of the team you're going against. Don't try to punch up against A-lister teams unless you have the perfect counter for them, right? And I'll keep talking about things as I go here. Another thing too is you'll notice if you when you set your defense in war, you cannot use those characters on offense once war starts. So be very selective too. So who you put on defense. Okay, for these, I'm gonna start working on the Royal Guard because he's gonna give taunt and deflects. Oh, never mind. Okay, let's go ahead and use the ultimate now and get rid of all those defense ups. Sometimes you want to save that. I'm not gonna talk about everything I'm gonna do here, but yeah. So you cannot use characters on both offense and defense. It's a one-time thing, and once you attack once with them and finish that node, you cannot attack with those characters again. So be mindful of that, especially when you're putting together like one-of teams, you know, with lots of leftover characters. Okay, now he healed up a little more than I wanted him to, but we should be ready to roll now. Who do you want to stun here? She does all the damage, really, so let's just stun her. Oh, didn't even stick. Okay, let's get rid of him before he taunts again. Okay, Nova. Once you get the ultimate in war, usually that's about it, if he can put out his Nova. When Nova hits his Nova. But this is a pretty standard fight, and I probably could have gone up, punched up another 30k or so. Because Fantastic Four is one of the strongest war teams, but I didn't want to screw around with the video too long, so we'll just get this battle over quick and move on to what we were talking about. I should have actually hit her with it, whatever. Yeah, Fantastic Four is an excellent war offense squad, by the way. Okay, so that is done. So now I cannot use the Fantastic Four, any of the people in this team, for the rest of the war. That's it, one and done. Now, if you go into a fight like that and things start going south on you, like it just something bad RNG, whatever it is, you're losing the fight, you misevaluated what was going on, you can quit the fight and your guys will still be alive, so you can attack with them again, either the same node or a different node, doesn't matter, but they will get a defense of that node victory. So be just mindful, don't be going there throwing stupid teams at things you can't win for no good reason, right? Because it doesn't help you, and plus you'll be eating all of your energy. So here's the other thing you gotta watch for. This energy fills very slowly. I think it's 1 every 3 hours or something like that, maybe 4, and once it gets to 5 it maxes out, so you want to try to use a couple of them before you go to sleep at night or whatever, right? So every attack costs you 1 of those. You can buy more of that. That's the extra charges I showed you in the Blitz store, right? But like I said, it gets very expensive. So that's that. So there's attacks. There is a little bit of war currency. There's a little bit of room talk. What else? Okay, here's something else. Well, once you go in, you basically don't have any characters picked. You can either throw a team on it, which is in your save squads, right? Make it nice and easy like that. Or it's shown over here on the left side, characters that are available to you. Like if you scroll through here, you won't see Fantastic Four now since I've used them. So it's pretty cool that it does that for you. But these are all the characters you have. So a lot of times you'll have characters that aren't on a team or they work better somewhere else. You can just start plugging them in from there, okay? Pretty simple stuff, but, you know, thought maybe it'd bear mentioning. War is basically about speed and and cooperating with the rest of your alliance mates to get things done. You're going to start seeing a lot of repetition in War. You'll start seeing a lot of the same defensive teams. I mean, you get very used to it very quickly, and you'll learn about most of the nuances for teams, okay? You'll learn when to punch up and when not to punch up. Let's just take a look and see if there's anything interesting here. Okay, you want to stay on this side because of the marker, right? That would be interesting for Brotherhood, but he's got Ultron. So any team with Ultron on there bears a lot of guessing, right? Or not so much guessing, but it bears a lot of analysis to think if you can get in there or not. Sinister's not too bad. Strife is not too bad. Minerva can be pretty bad here because she can res somebody. So you have to have a way of not only controlling Ultron, but also Minerva. So this would not be an easy team to punch up on. So things like that. But a hand team would be extremely easy to punch up on. I could probably throw I don't have any good examples here, but like say if I had X-Men, like X-Men at like 190k or so could probably take these guys fairly easily, as long as Elektra didn't one-shot somebody right too early. So it's just learning. Now this over here, Asgardians, is very strong, unless you have like a symbiotes team or something like that. These mercs are very, very strong in War, so not easy, especially for newer players, right, who don't have really strong squads or putting together just kind of hodgepodge teams. You typically don't want to put a hodgepodge team, that's like teams with like lots of random characters in there of mostly the same level, against like teams in War. It works a lot differently than it does in raids and other game modes, right? There's so much team synergy, and a lot of these teams have war synergy. Asgardians have big defensive war synergies. So do the Mercs. So and so the Marauders too. You know, it's not a full team for Marauders, but so just keep that in mind too. So what teams are powerful on the outside sometimes get even more so inside of War. So you got to be very careful with what you're doing. So you don't want to be wasting attacks. Here's some lower rooms. Teams like Red Skull, if you don't have anything specifically set up to kill a Red Skull squad, you gotta punch down like 50, 60, 70k sometimes, because you just cannot get through these guys with what Red Skull does in War. So it's just something to consider, and hopefully that kind of helps. Now, I've already done a War store kind of not so much how to, but like what characters to go for. But basically what you'll get for winning is War credits, right? And some other things too, but really mostly it's War credits, what it's all about. And there's some really, really, really important characters in here. And there's your War credits up here. And here's what's available. But they got Gear Tier 15 pieces in here now. So that's extremely vital. But there's a lot of really vital characters too in the War store. But I already did a video on that, so I won't go over that too much. Do yourself a favor. Don't waste it on purple gear. It's got purples in here and blues. Don't use them on that, all right? And don't waste them on bad characters. So that's kind of it for War in a nutshell. It sounds complicated. It's a lot to take in at first, but really it's quite simple at the end of the day. It's just mostly about, I don't know, learning about what the other teams do, being mindful, and being able to coordinate with your alliance pretty well, you know. And that's basically it. Now, things do get interesting when things are close and it gets down to the wire and there's like a few victories apart. Then you've got to sometimes take chances on rooms and all that. But once again, that's beyond the purview. This is just a beginner's guide. So, yeah, so that should do it for now. So if you have any questions about this game mode, just let me know in the comments below, or ask, of course, your alliance mates, and I'm sure they can help you out. But this should give you a pretty decent start. Oh, also, one thing I did forget to mention is on defense, you make sure to set your defensive squads before the war happens. In fact, a couple hours before it happens, because match baiting starts and you can't get in there. If you don't have enough characters to fill out a node, you can always add the free shield characters. They're only at like 3.6k. They kind of look phased out, you know. They're not good, all right? Those are usually free tax for everybody, but you might also put something in there. So go ahead and use those guys as well. So typically speaking, you want the first two teams in a node to be your strongest, and or at least the first team is your strongest, and usually towards the end, so you can kind of bait them in. Some people will bait them in with lower teams and then just nail them with 400k plus teams out there to kind of really stall people out. But a lot of times, if they see like a really strong team in their first two slots, they'll just move on to something else, and you maybe can save a room for a lot longer. So anyway, yeah, that is the war bracket, I guess you could say, and that's what it is. So anyway, hopefully this was informative to you, and until next time, this is Genome, wishing you all good luck in war. Out.